Alex with DownstaterADV. Today I got a good video for you. To my right, you see my beloved, well, not really beloved, but I do like it, Huayee HY16C. Good machine, I've enjoyed it, but it's moving on to a new home. To my left, this is its replacement. This is the SHY12 from Huayee. This is a dealer-only version. I did buy it again from EPS down in Georgia, Robert Lee Ray. His information is in the description. Just give him a call. Call him directly. That's his cell phone number, by the way. So I don't know why he wants it out there, but he said go for it. So he doesn't mind talking to you guys. He wants to. Give him a call if you guys are interested in any of the stuff that I have here. I don't get a kickback from him, but I just like seeing Americans that are doing good stuff and bringing good machinery in at a better price. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's 20 degrees out. Don't worry, there are videos coming of this machine working when it warms up a little bit. But for now, I want to do a deep dive onto these two machines and give you the reason why I sold this machine and I bought this one. Now, again, like I've told you a couple times, they're not giving me money. I don't really care what you do. Go buy a Kubota if you want to spend $35,000. That's fine. What I want to show you is why I first went with this machine and why I now went with this machine. That's it. Very simple. And after having them both in front of me, it's become very clear that this is a more consumer grade machine. And there's some features on it that I really love. And that once I was able to get my own eyeballs on it, I went, wow, okay. These were spec'd, to give you the quick overview, these were spec'd specifically by the US distributor. Every nut, bolt, and part on here was spec'd by the guys down in Georgia to be brought in for their dealer network. And it shows. So, like I said in this video, we're going to go deep. We're going to go material thicknesses. We're going to go components. We're going to talk about dimensions, price, all the good stuff you guys want to see. I've gotten some comments. I get it. I haven't gone deep enough in the past. We're going to go deep on this one and give you guys really the nitty gritty on these machines. And some things that I already don't love about this machine, right? It's not all puppies and unicorns, right? It's a good machine for what I want. It's going to serve me well for my business. But there's already one or two things, we'll talk about it at the end, that are, could be better, right? And I'm sure they will. So let's get into it. All right, so one point I wanted to hit right off the bat. Let's talk about weights, okay? The Chinese have this thing where they like to exaggerate weights. This is a perfect example of that. This is not a 1.6 ton machine. I don't know why they do this because it's not hard to weigh these machines. We've done it. The dealer did it in Georgia. There's another dealer in PA that I think has a scale that did his own weights. This machine is around 2,650 pounds, I believe. That is not 1.6 tons. So why they call this an HY16C, I don't know. I think it's just marketing. They like to sell things. What the US distributor did that I think was really smart, because they want to be transparent, this is a SHY12. And it's a true 1.2 ton machine. That's a beautiful thing. I know it's trivial, but it just, for me, for my engineering brain, it makes me a little calmer and happier. This machine is actually a little bit heavier, even though it is technically a bit smaller as well. We're going to get into dimensions later, but the boom is a bit shorter and things like that. But this machine is actually about 60 pounds heavier than the 16C. A lot of that goes into the material thickness of this machine and the components. So we'll leave it at that until later on in the video. Real quick, we're going to bang out pricing too, because you guys all love the pricing. I get it. This machine right here, the 16C, right now as we speak, I believe is retailing for around $11,500. I'm going to say it again, even though you guys are probably sick of hearing it. If you buy it online, you do not get the 3-year warranty or the dealer support, the US dealer support. You have to buy this unit from a US dealer to get the warranty and for them to pick up a phone call. Otherwise, you're dealing with the corporation directly in China through email and whatever, and God bless. I personally went through a dealer for both, and I've been very happy. You guys saw that last video. I did have 1 or 2 issues with this machine, and they were phenomenal, just getting back to me right away with everything. So this machine, it retails right around $14,800. Did I pay that? No, I paid slightly less than that, $14,000. Still, I think a good price for this machine. A comparable machine in the known US market that you guys all know would be like a Bobcat E10. Roughly the same weight, very similar components, and it's right around $30,000, $32,000 for that machine. So give you an idea, this is about half the price of a comparable Bobcat. And like I said, very similar in a lot of ways. There's actually a feature on here that I'm going to talk about later that the Bobcat doesn't even have. That's a big deal. So that should give you a pretty good indicator. So there you go. We got weight and we got price. We're done with that. Let's get into the actual components on these machines. We're going to start off with the bucket. The stock bucket on this machine is, I believe, yep, it's about a 15-inch bucket. So that's pretty good. That's about what you want to see on this weight machine. On the 16, you've got a 13.5-inch bucket right there. So smaller stock bucket right off the bat. And that's, you know, I guess to be expected on a more commercial machine. This thing can lift more. It's got a higher breakout force, so it's kind of what we expect. As far as the thumb goes, one thing I really like to see was how beefy this thumb setup is. You have a huge plate that's kind of covering from end to end. So yeah, you could bend these tines, but you'd be real hard pressed to bend this part. As you can see, it's double welded front and back. And it's every bit of about, I'd say, yeah, it's about 1/4 inch right there. So it's actually a little over. It's actually about 3/8 of an inch. So it's 3/8 inch plate. The unit itself is about 3/8 as well for the thumb. And it's got a really nice beefy attach mount there. Of course, double welded on both sides and greasable. So that's pretty solid. Again, you're not going to be ripping this stuff off anytime soon. I like what I see there. Let's go over to the 16 and look at the difference. Now on the 16, you do have a longer thumb because it is a bigger machine slightly. But look at that attach point, right? It's going to be really easy to bend this compared to the other one. You just have 2 pieces of steel stock right there welded on, and then you have 1 attach point right here. So you have what we call torsional flex right here, right? You have the ability for this thing to pivot basically on this thumb, or on this mount from that piston, which I don't love that. Same mount though over here. All these booms are going to be pretty similar from the factory, so I'm not too surprised to see just a well-built boom. That's kind of standard from them. But the thumb is certainly not as heavy duty as what we're seeing on this machine right here. You've got really heavy plate gussets surrounding this cylinder mounting point, and you've got 3/8 plate going top to bottom, and that is 7 inches long. So that's a nice thick piece of steel that's going to keep that torsional, you know, flex right there from really happening. Just to give you an idea of that thumb too, let's just take a peek at that. Yeah, so this thumb's about 3 inches shorter, which, you know, it's understandable. This machine does also have the quick attach. I do believe they make a longer thumb if you want it, so that it would come out to about 21 and then meet really nicely with that bucket. But for what I'm doing, this thing will be perfect for me. So yeah, that's what we're at. The quick attach, I believe, is the exact same on both units. It's an identical unit, so not really gonna cover that. It's the exact same quick attach. And these both use the 25 mil pins. So all the buckets on the 16C are swappable between these 2 units. So we are done with that. As far as the cylinders on these units, this machine actually does have a longer cylinder, despite being a slightly smaller machine. It's about 18 inches for the actual housing of the cylinder, and this one on the 16C is just over 17 inches. So it's interesting, and I also see some differences in the welds, right? On this cylinder on the 16, it just has kind of a single bead right here, looks to be robot welded. On the 12, you have a totally different cap setup on here, and it does seem to be a better weld. They obviously chamfered in on both sides of this and then flush welded it. So I like seeing that. I mean, this looks like a better built cylinder to me. Obviously, I haven't seen the internals of it, but I do like how they built that. The hard plumb lines are all basically the same on both machines. As far as the top cylinder goes, let's just give that a measure. We'll go from there to there, 18 inches right there. And over here, same thing, slightly longer. So that stick, the dipper cylinder is about an inch longer from the grease, grease point to the end of that cylinder. So is what it is. As far as the boom cylinder goes, again, very, very beefy, heavy duty cylinder. I love that. And we are looking at 20.5. We are looking at roughly, come on, Alex. We're looking at 23 inches. So we got about 2 more inches on that cylinder for the boom. One of the big differences though that really I love, I mean, we're gonna get to a lot of it here in a minute, but one of the big differences on this machine, on the SHY12, is this knuckle. I want you guys to really look at this knuckle, and then we're gonna go over the 16. First of all, it's a cast knuckle. The 16, that's a welded knuckle, right? It's all plate steel welded together. End of the world? No, but not something I like seeing. I'd rather see a cast knuckle like this. For me, this is a much better built, commercially grade. You know, this is what you see on all the big machines, is a cast knuckle. The thing I love about it is the material thicknesses and all the gussets that are built in. Like, look at this side swing pivot, you know, point itself. It is huge, thick steel with a huge gusset in between. Big capture right here for these pins. And then you look at the main pivot points, right? You have a thicker, longer pin with way more meat on both top and bottom of the knuckle boom itself, or of the boom knuckle itself. Love seeing that. You also have you do have replaceable bushings. There's a replaceable bushing there and a replaceable bushing there. All right. This is something by itself that I love seeing on these commercial grade machines, is a real cast knuckle. All right, so you guys see that? Let's get the tape measure. You guys love numbers. So you're talking about a roughly 4.5 inch pin, top and bottom, for this unit right here. All right, let's go over to the other one. On the 16C, you have a smaller pin, and it is captured at around 2.5 inches. Guys, that should tell you more than anything else right there. This is not a commercial grade machine. There you go, 2.5 inches top and bottom, and you have a smaller plate thickness here and far smaller capture of those pins right there. And again, this is a welded steel knuckle. It's not forged, it's not cast, this is just welded plate steel. End of the world, like I said, no, but it's not something I want to see. Let's get you a shot right here. Look at this, the difference in the side swing on this boom. This is huge right here. It's just two pieces of plate steel welded on, no gussets right there for lateral stability, no gusset to the top, nothing. So again, I don't love this. On the inside of the boom too, nothing. It's just a cavern in there. You have one little gusset inside of here, which also I hate because it collects water. There's no drain. I don't love that. But it's just not very well built. It's not very strong, you know, for commercial use. For homeowner use, farms, whatever, yeah, it's fine. But again, look at this thing. Look at that knuckle. I mean, you're talking about twice the material thickness right there, and 4 times the material thickness of all the capture points for all these pins. It's just a totally different animal. Let's actually get the frame difference too. We are talking about, that looks like 5/8 right there for the frame mount. It might be the same. Let's see. Nope, it's 1/2 inch on this one. So even the frame mount on the 16 is smaller than the frame mount on the actual SHY12. That's awesome. Really love that. All right, we're going to go to the bottom here and start talking about the undercarriage. On this undercarriage, we obviously have the expanding tracks. I just kind of want to show you guys that. You also have a higher platform, right? So there's more distance between the tracks. By the way, these are exact same tracks. I'll give you the measurements later, but these tracks are the exact same length, same width, same everything. So when we're doing apples to apples here, I want you to understand that these are the same tracks, but if you look at the distance between the house and the tracks, it's more on this one than that one because you have a raised platform, right? You have your turntable inside of here, and you have gussets going to each. They're spaced out about every, gosh, I don't know, I would say 5-6 inches. There's a gusset going down to the house, or going down to the undercarriage. That's a nice thing for serviceability. You can get your hands in here. You can access everything. You can access all the bolts. You can't access much of anything underneath there. It's a lot tighter, and it's not expanding, so the frame is kind of what it is. Really like the fact that they brought in the mount for the dozer blade all the way up to the bottom of the carriage and all the way down. This is a very sturdy dozer mount. You are not ripping that off, and it's double welded inside and out for that dozer blade arm, so really like that. As far as material thicknesses on here, it's pretty darn thick. Let's go ahead and look at it. They're all about the same size plate right here, which is, my caliper won't get in here, so we're just going to do it the dummy way. Yep, that's 3/8 all day long. All right, so that's 3/8 plate for at least this section, the whole bottom of that carriage, and then it's wrapped down here. So, and then this is also 3/8 as well. So really like to see that. Same with the mounts for the dozer blade itself. Very, very, very thick for what this machine is. You know, it's all plate steel welded, double welded, most likely robot welded. I doubt they do this by hand, although some of that does look like it's done by hand, but a lot of this machining is done at their factory by robots. I do know that. I've seen their videos. So, all right, let's get over to the other machine. So on this one, on the 16, you have a stationary, frame. Again, material thickness under here, I can tell you right now, is going to be, yeah, it's 1/4 inch. So this is 1/4 inch plate, smaller plate on this machine. The tabs for the dozer blade are the same 3/8. But again, look at that mount for the dozer blade. It's just 2 little tabs welded on. No top mount, no bottom mount, just 2 little tabs kind of sitting there for all this weight and pressure that's going up against there. I mean, you be the judge. I don't love it. I don't think that's a very strong mount. It's 2 small tabs welded on. When you compare that to, the other machine where you have a way more sturdy mount right here. You've got, a follow through all the way up to the top of the swing or the slew bearing. And then you've got a follow through that goes all the way down to the bottom of the undercarriage. I mean, that's beautiful. That's what you want to see for a dozer blade mount. Let's also look at the blade itself. All right. On the SHY12, you obviously have expanding tracks, so you have this fold-out wing right here. But look at just the components that are built into this. You have a huge triangle tube right there for the main part of it, and then you've got all double welded and boxed parts for the actual swing-out wing. And then this pin is captured underneath there. So it's nicely built, and I want to take a look between this one and the other one. But look at where this dozer cylinder mounts to the blade. You have weld all the way down and all the way down there. I mean, it's just a different animal. Look at that right now, and let's go look at the 16. We'll see what the difference is. All right, so again, on the 16, smaller, right? We keep seeing this thing, and they don't follow through with these mounts under and over. It's just kind of face welded. Now you do have gussets, which I do like to see that on the 16, but it is not as sturdy of a mount. It is 3/8, love seeing that, that's good. But again, not as sturdy. All you have are these gussets. You don't have any follow through top and bottom. It stops right there. So not horrible, but that I don't love. Compared to the 12, that is not good. That you could probably rip that off. I do think that. So not a big fan of that. Getting back to the undercarriage, it's very simple, right? You have just a simple turntable bearing right on there. The house bolts you can't even get to from over here, so they're all kind of hidden underneath there, which it's just a pain in the ass to service. On this machine, if I wanted to check my house bolts and make sure that everything is good to go, well, guess what? They're right there. They're all accessible. I love that. I love serviceability on these machines. I don't need to put this thing on a lift to check the torque on all of my house bolts. I don't care if you own a Takeuchi, Bobcat, Cat, whatever you have, you should be checking these bolts. I mean, they work out on other machines, so that's something you should be checking. Instead of just having metal for these lines, they actually put rubber grommets in here. Again, nice little touches. There's going to be a lot of little touches and features that you see on this machine especially that are not going to be seen on that 16C. Little things, you got to keep an eye on the little things. They're really what matter, at least to me. That little grommet right here where that hose goes through, that's a nice thing for serviceability, for longevity, for all that. Wear resistance is a big deal on these machines, so I love seeing that. All right, as far as the roll cage goes on this machine, I can't specifically claim this is a certified ROPS, but I will say that compared to the other machines I've seen in this industry, this is pretty sturdy. It doesn't just shake around like a piece of tin foil. These roll cages, in fact, you can actually see right there the thickness of it. I would call that at least 1/8 inch steel, and it's obviously sleeved there, and it's got cross bracing, and there's cross bracing on the top, and it is quite thick and heavy duty. If you were to roll this machine, I do think that this would probably keep you alive. When you move up to the house of the machine, this is where things really get interesting for this machine. You have simple controls for the boom swing right here. This is right left. That's your thumb right there. Again, very simple. Track right, track left, and then dozer in the middle. Now here we're going to cover something I don't love. There are no pedals for your tracks, and as a commercial user, I do like having pedals. I don't know if they're going to come out with a kit for that. I don't even know if you could really fit it in here because this is a more compact machine, so I do understand why they did that. On the HY16, you do have pedals for your tracks, and you do have a little more room in here. So something to think about. All right. Same setup though. You have your thumb over here and your boom swing over there. Okay. But when we're over here, let's just look at this. Look at these gaping holes where all these valves are, right? And there's no protection on the sides of these pivot points right here. When we go back to the SHY12, you have a fully gated valve mechanism right here. So these things, no matter what hits it, what you do, you are not going to break these off. They are very well protected, and I love seeing that. Again, with these guys too, with these pedals, they're so simple, and they're not, they're built for commercial use. They're not like chintzy stuff. And these are loose on purpose, by the way, because they don't have to be rigid mounted to the valves. These are mounted to the frame, and then they actuate a valve. If you guys are wondering why there's slack there, that slack is on purpose, right? Because you don't want these actually mounted to a valve. That is a horrible, horrible design that a lot of these manufacturers do for the cheaper stuff. These are frame mounted with actuation to the valve, okay? Same with these. These are mounted to the frame with actuation pivot points inside. So big deal there. Why do I say that? Well, because look what we have here. These are mounted directly to the valve. Bad idea. I do not like this. If something hits this hard on top, let's say you have a log fall, a piece of concrete, whatever, now you just broke your entire valve body inside of there. Horrible, horrible idea. I really don't like that setup, but why do they do it? It's cheaper. Simple as that. It's just cheaper, okay? Is it the end of the world? No, but these are all direct mounted except for these guys. These are frame mounted, but the two on the outside are direct valve mounted. I'm not a fan of that if you are a hard commercial user, right? Getting back to the 12, one thing I love that they did was they added these rubber mats instead of the chintzy kind of carpeting that they put in a lot of these machines. This is more commercial grade. This is what you see on all the American brands. It's all form fitted, and there is actually a piece of shank steel molded into this to keep its form, right? There's actually shank steel molded into this mat. So love the details, man. The details on this are beautiful. Again, back to the 16. You just have this cheap, you know, kind of mat that's just kind of Velcroed in there. It's not great. There's no form to it. Yeah, it'll protect the paint, but it's just cheap. It's chintzy, you know. I don't love it. As far as the operator station for this machine, we are in a whole different world now. This has the true, you know, flip up controls. These are not the cheap, junky ones at the auction either. There are different grades just on these control consoles, just so you guys know. And you can see it just by how it attaches down and the actual, you know, locking mechanism. So let's show you that. So this unit actually has the valve gas spring in there. It's got the protection for all the lines. And when you bring it down, it is just nice and sturdy with a solid latching mechanism. So that turns on all the hydraulics, and it also just makes really easy access to the cab. So I did say earlier, yeah, there's a little more room on the 16, but really not much more because of the fact that that does not have the flip-up controls. The new 16 does have flip-up controls, but look at the room I have in here. I mean, this thing is super easy. Let's set you up. All right, so I just want to give you guys an idea of how easy this is. I'm about 170 pounds, and getting in this machine is a breeze. It's like I got all the room in the world right here to get in, lock it down, and get to work, right? And also, you know, the guys are saying, oh, the SHY12 doesn't have a lot of room. I think I have tons of room. In fact, I do actually think there's more room in here, and I can easily get to my thumb. When I'm running, I use the thumb all the time. I'm doing a lot of land clearing crap and stuff like that. I want that thumb to be accessed all the time. I don't want it on a push button over here. I love it being down there on my foot. And then when I'm done, I just put my feet to the side. Boom, I have all my access to my controls. Good to go. I think this is a much better setup than actually that one, especially considering the fact that these pedals are more protected and they're not direct valve mounted. I can't harp on that enough. This thing is built for commercial use. That's why these are thicker. That's why they're frame mounted rather than valve mounted, right? It's a difference. So again, coming out, I mean, I can come out straight on this machine. I can't do that on that machine, right? I don't have to like slide my way out all weird. I can just walk straight out of this machine, no problem. All right, another big difference on this machine is the seat itself. The SHY12 comes with a truly commercial seat. It is thick and comfortable. It also has a hard mounted seat belt that is actually retractable, which is something that I really love to see. I am one of those guys that does wear a seat belt when I operate every time. And I am not going to do it on that machine half the time because it's just a loose seatbelt. It's a pain in the ass. This also does have recline, which again, that machine does not have. The 16 has that kind of generic forklift seat, and it's got this loose, floppy seatbelt right here, okay? Again, there's costs that need to be cut, guys. I'm not ragging on this machine. I'm just showing you the differences. This is a cost-cutting feature. This is a cost-cutting feature. Look how loose and floppy that seat is compared to that one, right? All right, so getting back to the roll cage, one thing I just noticed that I really do like and that's interesting to me is the amount of attach points and wear and the thicknesses, right? On this roll cage on the front, you have 2 bolts attaching it to the actual frame of the machine. On the back, you have 4 massive freaking bolts. Those are probably what, 18, 19 mil? And there's 4 of them, 2 on each side, attaching that to the machine. Let's go over to the 16. On the 16, 1 bolt attachment. That's it. On the rear of the frame, 3 much smaller bolts attaching that to the frame. Don't love seeing that, guys. That's another clear as day difference of consumer versus commercial. I don't know what to tell you. All right, one thing I wanted to talk about on this machine is the panel fitment. It's something I don't love on the 16C, and I want to show you the real differences. They do put more time and effort into these. If you'll notice on this machine, all the panels just match up beautifully. Everything is just matched up very nicely and well put together. They don't have to put all the protection strips everywhere to protect everything because it's built to be like this, right? Let's go to the 16C. I want you to really take a look at this all right here. And then I want to show you the 16C. All right, now we're looking at the 16C, guys. You should see the difference right away. Every single panel has this cheap molded kind of protection covering on it to keep the panels from rubbing against each other because they all kind of overlap. I don't know if you can see that here, but every single one of these back panels has that kind of protection on it. And look what happened to it, right? Every time I open this, it gets inched up and beaten up and pulls out. See that right there? That's not great. That's not what you want to see on these machines. But again, cost-cutting features, right? In terms of repairability and access, I really like the way that this machine has a side opening door. I think that is a much better feature for accessing and servicing this machine than the rear opening door. I'll show you on the 16. So the 16 has a rear opening door right here, which it's nice because they did attach it up here with an automatic release, and I love that. But again, you got to crouch down in here to get any work done in here. On that machine, A, it's a little higher, and B, you have that side opening door, which is also easily removable if you need to, and get to the components a lot simpler. All right, coming down to the back here, you've got your counterweight. I can tell you just by looking at them, the counterweight on the SHY12 is much, much bigger. This is still a well-built cast counterweight on the 16. No issues there. It is nicely painted. It's nicely finished. It's got a good fit and finish to it. I love it. But let's go look at that machine right there. Oh yeah, I can already, oh yeah, you can feel it. I mean, this thing is way heavier, way more, kind of robust counterweight on here. Kind of cool how they did that. So, but again, much heavier duty counterweight. That's where a lot of this weight is coming from on this machine. You have a thicker frame in general with everything going on with the expanding tracks, and the undercarriage is all thicker steel, but you also have a thicker counterweight, which really smooths out this machine and makes it a lot better handling. All right, so you guys have gotten a pretty good overview now of all the kind of hard, I will say, frame components, right? You can see now there is a big difference between this machine and this machine, just in terms of material thicknesses, cast parts, attach points, weldments, brackets, bolt sizes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? And then we talked about some of the more soft parts, you know, the difference in the seats, the cockpits of the machines, all that. They are very different machines just on surface level, right? They're easy to see. What I want to talk about now are component differences. Let's get it right out of the way. They both run on a Kubota 722 D722 motor, which is roughly, 15, 18 horsepower, about the same as all the machines in this class. In fact, a lot of them use either that or the Yanmar. So same exact motor in both machines. Awesome motor, bulletproof, love them. Where the big difference comes though, and this is something that completely sets this machine apart, not just from this one, but everything else you can think of, are the pumps and hydraulic systems on these machines. This machine has a no-name gear pump on it, right? It's just a regular, you know, Chinese, probably better quality than the auction stuff, but still it's just a regular old log splitter pump, right? And it's got two of them, one for the pilots, one for the main. Pretty good, pretty damn smooth machine for being a gear pump machine, but still it's a gear pump machine, which also means it's an open center machine, right? So a lot of the components on this machine are almost like on-off switches, right? The dozer blade's a great example of it. It's such a short throw cylinder. You touch that lever, that dozer blade just wants to shoot down real quick. This machine has what's called a load sensing piston pump on it. And before we go any further into that, I gotta say this because I thought it was so interesting. I cannot find a single other machine in this weight class. I looked at Kubota, Takeuchi, I couldn't find Cat. I don't know about the, I think it's a 301, Cat 301, something like that. I don't know about the Cat, but Kubota, Takeuchi, what was the other one I looked at? Bobcat, right? The three big names everybody thinks of. In this weight class, this is the only machine that has a load sensing piston pump in it. Only one. That by itself is pretty darn cool. I think that's something that needs to be known, right? And it's huge for them to put that on there. And not only is it a load sensing piston pump, it's a good one. That's a Taifang pump. If you're in the business, you know that name. Taifang makes the same pumps that you find on the higher end, you know, Takeuchi's and John Deere's and all the other big brand names that are running load sensing pumps. Guess what? Open the hood, it's a Taifang. That's what's on this machine. So on this small 2,600 pound excavator, you have a Kubota diesel, a Taifang pump, you have Italian branded hoses, so they're not gonna blow out on you, and you have Italian valving. All the hydraulic valving on this unit are Italian. Again, quality, details, the little details are what matter on these machines. On this machine, you have just a regular log splitter gear pump with, you know, I would say run-of-the-mill hydraulic components. Not bad, but not that, right? And it becomes clear as day when you run the two, right? Another thing where I don't love the 16 is tracking, right? On the tracks on this, again, it's kind of an on-off switch when you're running those levers. You touch them and it just starts going, right? On this machine, I mean, you can just creep them because again, it's sensing the load that you need. Load sensing pumps also operate on a closed circuit, I believe. Closed loop, sorry. Cam Sweet, if you're watching this from the Garage Connection, I apologize, man. I'm not the hydraulics guy you are, but I know a little bit. These are a closed loop hydraulic system. That's why it's a load sensing pump, right? So it's not constantly just running through. It's using a swash plate to figure out what valves need what and send the hydraulic fluid where it needs to go. This machine is just kind of running all the time at the same speed. So if you don't have really, really precise valving and maybe some accumulators or some other way to slow down the speed of the fluid when you don't need that speed, well, you just get a fast machine, right? So the tracks are a perfect example of that. The dozer is a good example of that. Thumb is also very fast, but then the heavier parts that are articulated, they're a little slower because they're moving more mass, right? On this machine, everything is slow and smooth and methodical. It is a dream to operate this machine. I just have to say it. For a tiny machine, I've run a Bobcat E10, this thing's smoother, guaranteed. In fact, I'm about to rent one just to show you guys and put them side by side and just show. I mean, it is what it is. This thing is damn smooth. And it all comes down to the valving and that pump that they put in there. The big thing on this unit right here though is it has gear reduction planetary drives, which are a huge deal for me. And I'll tell you why. A, no freewheeling. B, the preciseness and pushing power of a planetary gear drive set is way better. The other issue I have with these machines and anything that has a gear roller motor is that they just don't have a lot of power to push dirt, right? So you have more power in a planetary gear drive. You also have a 2-speed drive. Again, a huge deal. To track this machine from the shed to the garage takes me, I don't know, a while. You pop this thing in the second gear, pop up the throttle, it just goes way faster, right? So when you're tracking around a job site or even a farm, if you guys are farmers, whatever, you're gonna have a lot better of a time running this machine with the 2-speed drives. It'll be safer, it'll be stronger, and it'll be faster. Again, what happens though? It increases cost, right? All this stuff is cost-based. And I don't wanna hammer this machine because honestly, and I mean this as an American trying to help Americans, for the money, this is still a great machine. I wouldn't have sold this to a good friend of mine if I didn't think this was a good machine. It is a good machine. It's a solid damn machine. But for my uses where I'm doing more commercial job site stuff, I am going up and down steep slopes, and I need a little more pushing power. And I also really like the different components that this machine has. It makes sense for me. At 14, I believe 14,900, so almost 15 grand. Yeah, the machine is a little more expensive. But again, you compare this to an E10 that doesn't even have the piston pump in it, you're at half the price for a pretty damn comparable machine. All right. This is the last thing we're going to cover here. You guys like dimensions. I like dimensions, so let's get right to it. One thing I want to point out right off the bat, roughly, the machines themselves, in other words, the undercarriage and the house, are pretty much the same. The only real difference between the two are the booms. The dipper stick and the booms are slightly different size, so let's get right to it and show you. From pin to pin on the dipper, you're at 39 on the 16. From pin to pin on this one, you're at 33. So again, you have about a 6-inch difference between the dipper arm on that and the dipper arm on this. You can kind of see them when they're side by side actually. On the boom itself, I'm gonna go from pin to pin. Again, you could have a slight difference in the angle of the boom, but what I'm worried about more is reach right now. So if we go pin to pin on the boom, you are at 57 on the 16. And you're at 54 on here. So you have a 3-inch shorter pin-to-pin length on the 12 than you do on the 16. For me, the difference in the reach right now we're looking at is what? 3 inches and 6 inches, so 9-inch difference in reach. Not a big deal. I still have more weight, I have more breakout force, I have better components, and I have the ability to do a lot more with this machine. So a 6-inch difference in reach, not a big deal to me. All right, I think we nerded out enough on this. I think we kind of did it. I mean, let me know. Put it in the comments if I didn't, but I think I got you all the components that matter. And it's dramatic, I think. There are big differences between these machines, and I think there's nobody that's really done a true side-by-side on these to show you all those little features and aspects, and I think that's important. If you're considering either, I will say this again, they're both good machines. But if you're a commercial user and if you're somebody that values that really kind of higher end experience and more precise control, the other big thing I didn't mention with the load sensing pump that really bothers me with this machine can really only do two movements at once. Really, it's like one movement at once, but you can kind of blend two controls at once. Like you can do bucket and boom at the same time, or you can kind of, but it's not great. You really kind of have to like separate your movements on this machine. So it's slower, less efficient to operate on a commercial setting. On this machine with the load sensing piston pump, I mean, you could track. In fact, I'll put a video on the next one I have will be a working video of this machine, so you'll see it then. But you can track, boom, bucket, and slew all at the same time, right? It's a totally different animal, and that needs to be known. It needs to be kind of put out there, I think, personally. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. I already have some jobs lined up when it gets a little warmer, but right now we're dealing with 20-degree weather, and I think we're about to get a blizzard this weekend, so that'll be fun. We'll put this old girl back to use. Love that thing. If you guys don't have one of these, you're crazy. That little 360 is like the best machine ever. It's so silly, but I love it. I also have the 680 coming in for a demo. So if you guys are interested in the big skid steers, it's a rival to the Ripa RS06-2. I guess they have a 03 because they screwed up the attach plate on that. So now there's a new big skid. But anyway, Huayee makes a 680 big skid with the 1105 motor and all that. I got that coming with a really cool attachment. That's going to be a fun video. And yeah, I think that's about it. Another buddy of mine is actually buying a SHY12 very soon. He just, I believe, is signing for it today or tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. And that is a amazing unit. I tested it the other day. I was blown away. Way smoother than any Bobcat I've ever operated. It blew my mind how nice that machine was, and for the price, it's phenomenal. So he's going to be picking that up pretty soon. We're probably going to have some videos on that, joint videos. He's a YouTuber. Check him out. No Nonsense Know-How, NNKH. If you guys know him, you know him. If not, you'll get to know him. He's got a big channel, 800,000 subscribers. Great guy, local, and he's got some cool stuff he wants to do. So that's coming. Other stuff is coming. This is going. It's been good to me, but I'll see you. And yeah, we got some more stuff coming. So if you're still here, at this point, thank you. You guys are real troopers. I hope this video gave you all the information you needed to make a good decision and be happy with your decision, right? It is a lot of money. It's still a lot less than a comparable unit from a big brand, but it is a good brand, and I have no doubt the Energy Power Systems will keep taking care of their people and their customers. So that's what I got. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the next one.